it'd probably be Marmite and cottage cheese on a Jacob's cracker. It's already sounding like a hit, isn't it? It's got the all the
Everything,
element,
yeah.
potential element, everything you could possibly want there.
But first of all, thanks for your time. Really appreciate you talking to us. Like I said, there's a lot going on. New album, new tour. What can fans
Yeah.
expect from the record, first of all, before we go on to the tour?
Right, so Closer is has used my album from '88, Close, as a blueprint. Um, that's sort of what I'm saying. I mean,
Yeah,
basically, trying to make the best pop records in the universe. I mean, that's
yeah,
always the challenge. Make the best pop record. It's the holy grail that's constantly chased after,
yeah,
and it's still a really great challenge to come up with a killer, banging 3 minute something song.
yeah,
Um, so Close was one of my most successful albums. It had some big hits on it for me. And so yeah, we would very much like to repeat that, and
yeah,
been working hard on the songs to that end. And I think people will agree that it's a very worthy sister or brother to the Close album.
yeah. I mean, going back to like you said about writing the ultimate pop record, in terms of looking back at kind of albums that you've grown up with and listened to, what are your kind of ultimate go-to pop albums?
When albums that I would listen to,
Yeah. What do you put in that bracket?
crikey, that's a hard one. I mean, obviously Blondie, obviously Parallel Lines. I would put the Carpenters in there. I just
Right.
love the Carpenters.
Yeah.
I love Bowie, of course, and glam rock, any version of glam rock. Brian Ferry, Roxy Music,
Yeah.
um, a bit of Stranglers in there, a bit of Clash,
Wow.
a lot of ABBA.
Yeah.
And so it goes on. A bit of Queen, a bit of Depeche Mode.
Oh yeah, you're going down the real classics now.
Yeah, I mean, I love all kinds of music. I mean, that was a great thing too about the '80s.
Yeah.
It was a very diverse thing, diverse decade.
Yeah. I mean,
Since
what was it like
lots of,
being part of that?
well, it was great because I was a 20 something year old pop star.
Yeah.
That's a great age to be a pop star. If you're going to be a pop star at 20 if you can.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky. I was given an amazing pop anthem from my father and my brother, Kids in America. And I just ran with it. I mean, initially it was all a bit of a like, oh wow. I'd just been at art college. I was living at home with my mum and dad. I wasn't expecting to suddenly have a massive hit on my hands.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we were at Rack Studios, like, oh, we've got to come up with a single, the next single, and then it's the blah blah. And all of a sudden it was a massive hit all over the world. And I was on living in airports, and so yeah, it was very busy. I spent a lot of time on a plane in a dressing room with a makeup artist making videos. Um, I think the more fun part of my career has been in the last 20, while the focus has been on live music. That's
Yeah.
where I'm having all my fun.
I was going to ask about that. I mean, you've never gone down. I've seen you at a lot of kind of these kind of retro pop festivals, but you've never kind of just gone down that route. There's always been like full tours, and there's been UK tours. I mean, now there's been European shows this year already. There's an Australian tour. I mean, how important is live music for you?
It's the most important thing these days for me. There's 13 of us.
Yeah,
There's including the crew and people we travel with. I love it. I love being with them. I love hanging out with them. I love, I love how much everyone cares about the show, and I love that the audiences are having such a great time at our shows.
yeah,
I love every aspect of it. I love that I get to sing so much. I love singing. I
yeah,
love entertaining. I love working with an audience.
yeah,
All those years of standing side a stage and watching my dad entertaining audiences have finally they finally come to fruition. I'm now I think, comfortably the performer I always wanted to be when I
Right.
was a child, watching my dad being an amazing performer.
Yeah. I mean, who kind of inspired? I mean, you've talked about the likes of Bowie and Queen and people like that. I mean, especially Queen. I mean, Freddie Mercury was an entertainer as well as a singer. I mean, in terms of entertainers, who inspires you?
Um, so that's a good question. That is a good question. I mean,
Because to me, there's two
recently,
different things. There's being a good singer and being a good entertainer, and being the full package is I think what's puts people like Freddie Mercury as a real icon.
I went to see Rufus Wainwright a few years ago. He was a great entertainer.
Yeah,
He's really, really great. Billy Idol, he's a great
yeah.
entertainer.
Okay. I mean, in terms of
Yeah.
touring, then, I mean, like you said, it's a big, massive part of your life and something you love doing. But
Oh, you're
outside of
never a
the
bit
UK,
stuck.
are there any countries or cities you like playing in particularly?
Oh no, I mean for me, every gig is, the sacred stage, and we want to, make it light up. I mean, obviously it's fantastic if you happen to find yourself in a small theatre or even a large theatre, in Paris. That's
Yeah,
always a great place to play. Hamburg, of course, where the Beatles kind of got cut their teeth. That's
yeah,
a great rock and roll town, Hamburg. Um, Numerous towns in um, Germany, of course. I
yeah,
mean, I'm doing gigs in all over Germany, Holland, France, and now UK. Live music's really been reignited since the COVID uh,
absolutely.
lockdowns. I think everyone, it was, top of the top five things that people miss so much during that time was going to a gig, hanging out with other people, singing the songs to each other, vibing. Um, so yeah, we can really feel that. Live music is where it's totally at these days.
Absolutely. Do you remember? I mean, I remember seeing Newton Faulkner was the first gig I went to, kind of back after COVID, and I just remember it was all seated, and I remember him getting everybody up out of the seats, and it was just like, yeah, we've missed this. I mean, do you remember the first time you kind of went back to live music after COVID?
Crikey. When would that have been? Because we had a greatest hits tour that got cancelled.
Yeah,
So when so that was, yeah, so when we started doing that, um we were all over the place. I mean, yeah, the energy during that time was phenomenal,
yeah,
really phenomenal. Um, I would, it'd be hard to pick one because we had a huge European tour, and UK. It would be hard to focus on one.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
did you notice a difference though when you came back to, like you said, I mean, the energy and the fact that people have missed it, and your shows have always been a big, every time I've seen you, it's always been a big party. Did you notice
yeah.
anything different when you came back in terms of,
I think generally speaking, yeah, we have noticed that there's a lot more people having the best time of their lives, and it's really obvious that they have missed being together and being part of an audience. There's a real tangible joy that comes from an audience standing in front of you.
yeah,
You can see it on the smiles on their faces.
yeah,
You can see it on the way they react to what you're doing. Um, yeah, it's very hard to put into words but when you're on stage and you're looking at the crowd, you can feel it.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Okay, I mean, just going back to, like you said, you've got UK dates, you've got European dates, you're going to Australia again. You talked in an interview, I think before the last album, about kind of taking a break away from pop and just kind of going to normal life. Do people still recognize you in the street when you're kind of just wandering around?
Well, it depends what I'm wearing and if I've got my lipstick on.
I know the feeling.
um so it's quite good. I have a sort of an anonymous sort of um look about me sometimes when I scrape my hair back and don't put any makeup on. People don't tend to notice who I am. Sometimes they do, which is really not the best. If you're in the middle of Tesco's trying to buy loo rolls and someone wants to do a selfie,
Yeah,
it's it's not what you'd like in an ideal world.
yeah,
But but I always feel very, very privileged, anyone wanting to have their photograph taken with me. So I always apologize. I said, well, yeah, you can have a picture if you want, but I don't think anyone will recognize me. Um, so I have the public are just charming with me. People often ask me, oh, do you have, is it awkward, people stopping you? Do they say stuff? My experience is that people are just have been so generous and lovely to me.
Yeah,
It kind of what it breaks my heart almost how delighted they are to bump into me sometimes.
yeah,
I don't. It really is. It's overwhelming.
yeah. I mean, that going back, I mean, you like I said, you were a pop icon, like you said. I mean, you were a pop icon in the 80s. You know, you mentioned Kim Wilde. Everybody knows who you are. Um, in- like people like me grew up with you. Obviously, there's people now have children, have grown up. Do you see that in your audience? Do kind of like parents bringing their kids along to Kim Wilde shows, and is there a change in your audience? And what does that feel like?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've noticed it more and more in the last decade as well, and what say the last 5 years, because my memory's not that great.
Is that the
Um,
feeling?
but certainly we all notice it. We see incredibly young people down at the front. You know that they are the kids of some of the adults who are coming, and they're having a ball. Sometimes you see a sort of you might see like a sulky teenage boy looking a bit like he'd rather be anywhere else. And
Yeah,
then by the end of the gig, you can see him jumping up and down to kids in America and thinking, actually, you know what, this is
yeah,
all right.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You win them over.
I think as a live band now, we win people over. We win hearts and minds. They don't know what to expect, some of them.
Yeah.
But by the time they leave, they're thinking, yeah, I would definitely go back to another Kim Wilde gig.
Which is, I mean, it must be a huge compliment as an artist. I mean, your music is essentially timeless. You know, these,
Well, there's been a great diversity to it, and that's reflected in our love of music,
yeah,
diverse love of music, and from all genres, and just a love of. I call it pop music. You can call it what you like, but I call it
mm,
pop music. But
yeah, no,
that sort
definitely,
of covers everything, including Metallica.
yeah,
Um, but yeah. So yeah, just that the joy of sharing that with people hasn't diminished. It's got
yeah,
stronger and stronger. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, going back to what you talked about earlier about writing the kind of ultimate pop. I mean, what we've talked about the classics. We've gone back to Bowie and Queen and the Stranglers and all of that. What about modern pop music? And you kind of, especially, I mean, you look at the success of somebody like Taylor Swift at the moment, and the kind of, especially touching on the diversity, the range of people she's hit with. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, do you follow much kind of modern pop?
Yeah. I love the Tortured Poets Department. I think it's a fine, fine pop album.
Yeah,
Um, it's really impressive. And I fell in love with Fortnight. I just thought it was such a great track.
right.
And it starts off with that 80s pulse. And I thought, this sounds really cool,
Yeah,
really cool. And then I love the lyric, I love you, you're ruining my life. As soon as I heard that, I thought, oh, this is going to be a classic.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I turned into a Swiftie
Have
just
you?
on that. Yeah, I didn't know much about Taylor Swift until then.
Yeah,
And then when I heard Fortnite, I became a Swiftie.
right. Okay. I mean, what about the rest? I mean, what about somebody like, I don't know, like Billie Eilish or somebody like that, who's a very kind
Yeah,
of
I,
the
yeah,
other end
I
of the,
love. Yeah, because of course Billy works with her brother as well,
yeah,
and and her stuff. A lot of it is a lot more dark and perhaps a bit more complicated at times. I don't know, but um, perhaps not. I don't know. I mean, she just has her own thing,
yeah,
and she has a beautiful voice, a beautiful way of telling a story. There's a darkness to Billy that I don't think Taylor quite has, but that's not a criticism. It's just an observation.
yeah,
And and but I find them both really fascinating artists,
yeah,
and there's room on my phone for both of them.
yeah, definitely. I mean, and one thing I saw Cheryl Crow the other a couple of weeks ago, and she made a comment that she'd watched one of the support bands. I can't remember who it was, but she said she kind of felt like when kind of the mantle for pop music got handed over to the younger kids, it was in good hands. I mean, going back to what you said about recently about Taylor Swift and Billie, do you think kind of pop
Yeah.
music's heading over into good hands, or because
Yeah.
there's a lot of criticism of it about it being all kind of automated and the whole it's all computerized now and AI, but there's still artists like Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish. Do you think it is kind of being passed over into good hands?
I think it will be, because people will always respond with their gut to artists who are authentic
Yeah,
and who love their craft and want to present it in the most authentic way. And
yeah,
that's what both those artists are doing, and that's why they're so successful.
yeah,
Um, So yeah, I think there's pop music is infinite somehow.
yeah,
So much has changed in the music industry, but still everyone wants to hear a 3 minute something song.
yeah,
Now, I find that really interesting. I mean, obviously, if you get the albums, there's longer songs on albums, but generally, if you think about how the music industry has changed from when I was listening to music in the very early 60s, and now we're in 2024, and everything has changed. We're not the way that music is bought, the way it's listened to, um, just every aspect of it has
yeah,
changed. But the only one thing that hasn't changed is everyone still wants to hear a great song.
yeah,
I love that. I love that. I don't think that's ever going to change.
definitely. Just, I mean, you wrote on this the new record you wrote with your brother Ricky again. Is that something when you go into writing with him that you say, look, we want to write a 3 minute pop song? We want, is there a kind of blueprint to what you want, or are you kind of, is it like a blank page?
Oh no, I mean, obviously Ricky and I are listening to all kinds of music all the time. And so, we'll reference something that we heard when we were 9 years old and something we heard last week. So it's not like, oh, we're going to sit down and write a 3 minute song. We're going to sit down and write a song. And,
Yeah,
it might end up, but in my experience, it's usually 3 minutes and something.
yeah,
And I love the framework of that.
yeah,
It stops waffle. It gets to the heart of what you really want to say, how you really want, whatever that is.
yeah,
I love how it confines that space. It makes it very potent, undiluted, pure. There's a chance for some magic in there to happen.
yeah,
You try and allow that space for magic to happen.
yeah,
Sometimes you succeed, sometimes you don't succeed so well, but it's always worth going for, because there's very few things in life where there's enough room for magic to happen, apart from falling in love.
perfect. Brilliant. Right. We have a just for fun question, which is slightly less serious. Um, I'm really sorry for this. But
I
I saw
might not
you.
I might not answer it if I don't want
It's
to.
not bad. It's not bad. I saw you 2016. I saw you at Download Festival with Lawnmower Death.
Yes.
And you did. I also you did Kids in America. But you did Egg Sandwich as well with them. You did a cover. You sang on that. Um, Now,
Yeah.
what I wanted to know was if you could write your own song about your own favorite comfort food, similar to that, what would it be?
I love Lawnmower Death. I love those boys.
Yeah.
Um, One of my funniest memories is sitting on my lawnmower with Lawnmower Death and having a photo shoot. Um, and we literally did that. It was such fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would it be? And we made a very funny video together as well. I don't know if you've seen that video.
I probably have. Yeah.
It was a Christmas video that we
Yeah.
made.
Yeah.
It was a really, really silly video and such fun. Um, So let me think, what would it be? A food that they sort of, and then they did well. I guess it probably would be, um, it'd probably be Marmite and cottage cheese on a Jacob's cracker. It's already sounding like a hit, isn't it?
It
Marmite,
absolutely is. Yeah.
cottage cheese, Jacob's cracker. It's got all the
Everything.
element,
Yeah.
potential element, everything you could possibly want there.
And with it, Marmite is people who deny liking it will probably like it.
Well, there
It's
you go. It's got that fantastic word Marmite, which is, we all know what Marmite means in modern day speak. So it's just there's enough kind of, yeah,
yeah.
modern references in there, as well as like some quite tasty ones.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. I'm gonna, yeah, if I see any of them, I'm gonna have a word about that.
Anyway, lots of people don't know how delicious Marmite and cottage cheese are together. So
Oh,
it's also a sort of a public, fulfills a sort of public information. Um,
yeah.
uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
and the video as well. I think the video would be quite interesting.
could be fantastic. Yeah. I mean, now I should be thinking about it all day.
Perfect. Yeah, you and me both now. That's it's lunchtime now, so that's what I'm going to go and
Yeah,
do.
exactly, exactly. Lots of
Perfect.
people
Well, I
don't.
mean, it's been great talking to you. I mean, just good luck with the album. I think you're coming to York next year, so hopefully we can carry on and do something then, and maybe share a Marmite and cottage cheese cracker.
How lovely. Well, I mean, I love York. I went there for my birthday,
Oh,
and
did you?
what a beautiful town.
Yeah.
It's one I would return to. I mean, it's one one actually when we come up on tour there, I'm going to stay and hang out in York a little bit as well
Oh,
on
brilliant.
my
Well,
trip.
we're only in Harrogate, so hopefully we'll get to carry on. We'll carry on this
Nice.
conversation. But yeah, I mean, just want to say good luck with the album, and yeah, is there anything you want to say just to wrap up?
Well, I still absolutely love what I do. Um, and I'm not doing it for any other reason than I have a real profound passion for music and pop music and entertaining. And so if anyone doubts that, then don't, because it's something I share with my brother, and
Yeah.
uh he's got very he's a true genius, and I think in his capable hands we will deliver an album people will absolutely love.